and it's about trauma. And because my mind was already based on like this caveman kind of thinking, I saw the first ever saber-toothed tiger attack. I felt I saw the terror of the cave woman who saw it, who was watching like the tiger rip apart her caveman. I saw like the first human trauma like form, like the terror in this like cave woman's face for the first ever like tiger attack on a human. And she's witnessing like the man who impregnated her, who she had a baby with, like this cave woman, being mauled to death, and while she's running away, and I saw it all in her face while she's got her baby. And I saw her then look after her baby, and the way that she was looking at it, the subtle expressions that she was making of anxiety, of terror, even at a safe point days later or whatever, even as like the child's growing up, and this child is always seeing its mother in this like anxious expression. But when there's like a twig that snaps, she's looking around, her heartbeat's always higher, her like fight or flight's always a little bit triggered compared to like a peaceful state. She formed this like trauma from seeing what had happened, like this saber-toothed tiger attack. And this trauma was then passed on to her child because her child imitated her and had felt the same pain as her. And then I saw that connect with every single generation of the Homo sapien to us. But not just that trauma, not just that instance, but with every instance that's happened. All of the natural disasters, the Spanish flu, the Black Plague, the Great Depression, the wars. Imagine tens of thousands of years of the chaotic moments that humans have lived through. And always it's the parent who sees it, who comprehends it, who gets a little bit scared and gets formed with the trauma, and then he looks at his child and ends up passing it to him. We hold that trauma, at least this is my belief, we still hold that generational trauma from the first saber-toothed tiger attack. And so when my father told me that the reason why he hits me, the reason why he's violent against me, was because his father did it to him, suddenly it clicked, and I was like, of course it did. There was absolutely no other explanation. Of course, that's why. For years I had thought he was like a bad person for this, and then I saw him as a little boy and thought, you didn't have a chance. This was going to happen. It was the trauma and the plight of humanity against you. Of course you were going to pass it on. Of course you were going to grow up to be trauma inducing to me, and you were going to pass it on to me. And it was also at that moment where I made a vow that my entire bloodline's trauma stops with me. That it will not be passed on to my child. That I will do what it takes. I will do the deep introspective work, the shadow work, the mental health, the trauma work, the physiological work. I will do whatever it takes. My child will not be passed on with this trauma. For every person in my bloodline, my father, my mother, their parents, their parents, their parents, their parents, their parents, just imagine our family tree, just huge, all the way for tens of thousands of years. All of the pain that's passed from generation to generation. And of course, it's not all pain, it's not all misery, there's love and stuff, but there is this underlying generational trauma that just keeps getting passed on, and it's not likely that people in before me knew the psychological ways to ease trauma and everything. So it's most of the people in my bloodline just passed it on because they never even knew that they were trauma. My dad didn't know anything about psychology or anything. They just passed, they received it from their parents, added more because of their own life experiences and then passed it on to their child, and it just keeps compounding and compounding and compounding. And it made me think, like, what kind of superhero, like super power child I would have. My generational trauma stops with me. Now you know why I take like mental health so seriously. And you also know why my brain just seems to work in these like primal examples, these animalistic tendencies, this caveman analogies. From that day, my brain has been unlocked like that, and I can see everything from that lens, and I can't even think I can explain it to you properly. That may have been, people really criticized me when I spoke about psychedelics and stuff, but that may have genuinely been like absolutely life-changing for my future children. And we'll leave it there. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.